Hi friends, from today I am starting a new section, that is I am going to tell you about a book, and in that series I am starting with a book called Memory: How to Develop, Train and Use It by William Walker Atkinson. And in that he has written almost 20 chapters, and I am going to start with his first chapter, that is memory and its importance. In chapter 1 he says it needs very little argument to convince the average thinking person of great importance of memory. Although even then, very few begins to realize just how important is the function of the mind that has to do with the retention of mental impressions. The first thought of the average person when he is asked to consider the importance of memory is its use in the affairs of everyday life along developed and cultivated lines, as contrasted with the lesser degrees of its development. In short, one generally thinks of memory in its phase of a good memory as a contrasted with the opposite phase of a poor memory. But there is a much broader and fuller meaning of the term than that of even this important phase. That means he also says we only consider a good memory or a bad memory, but then it is not like that. There is a broader spectrum or broader pictures there. Later he says, it is true that the success of individual in his everyday business, profession, trade or other occupation depends very materially upon the possession of a good memory. His value in any walk in life depends to a great extent upon the degree of memory he may have developed. His memory of faces, names, facts, events, circumstances, and other things concerning his everyday work is the measure of his ability to accomplish his task. And in the social intercourse of men and women, the possession of retentive memory, well stocked with available facts, renders its possessor a desirable member of society. And in the higher activities of thought, the memory comes as an invaluable aid to the individual in marshalling the bits and sections of knowledge he may have acquired and passing them in a review before his cognitive faculties. Thus, does the soul review its mental possessions. As Alexander Smith has said, he put a person, Alexander Smith, and what he said, a man's real possession is his memory. In nothing else is he rich. In nothing else is poor. Is he poor? Means the best possession a man has is memory. Then Reacher has said, memory is the only paradise from which we cannot be driven away. Grant but memory to us, and we can lose nothing by death. Okay. Then he quotes Lactantius, and Lactantius says, memory tempers prosperity, mitigates adversity, controls youth, and delights old age. But even the above phases of memory represents but a small segment of its complete circle. So now he is explaining what is memory, the importance of memory. Memory is more than a good memory. It is the means where we perform the largest share of our mental work. As Bacon has said, he's quoting Bacon. Then Bacon has said, all knowledge is but remembrance. And immersion, he's quoting immersion, where immersion says memory is primary and fundamental faculty without which none other can work. The semen, the bitumen, the matrix in which the other faculties are embedded. Without it, all life and thought were an unrelated succession. Then he quotes Book, and Book says there is no faculty of the mind which can bring its energy into the effect unless the memory be stored with ideas for it to look upon. And Basile says memory is the cabinet of imagination, the treasury of reason, the registry of conscience, and council chamber of thought. And he says Kant pronounced memory to be the most wonderful of faculties. So different people have different concepts, but then everybody is saying that memory is quite important. Then he quotes that K, one of the best authorities of the subject, has said regarding it, unless the mind possesses the power of treasuring up and recalling its past experiences, no knowledge of any kind could be acquired. If every sensation, thought or emotion passed entirely from the mind, the moment it ceased to be present, then it would be as if it had not been. And it could not be recognized or named should it happen to return. Such an one would not only be without knowledge, without experience gathered from the past, but without purpose, aim, or plan regarding the future. So this implies knowledge and require memory. So for anything you want to do, you need memory. Even voluntary motion or motion for a purpose would have no existence without memory. For memory is involved in every purpose. Not only the learning of the scholar, but the inspiration of the poet, the genius of the painter, the heroism of the warrior, all depend on memory. Nay, even consciousness itself could have no existence without memory. For every act of consciousness involves a change from a past state to a present. And if the past state vanished the moment it was past, there could be no consciousness of change. Memory, therefore, may be said to be involved in all conscious existence, a property of every conscious being. In the building of character and individuality, the memory plays an important part, for upon the strength of impressions received and the firmness with which they retain depends the fiber of character of individuality. Our experiences are indeed the stepping stones to greater attainments, and at the same time are guides and protectors from danger. If the memory serves us well in this respect, we are saved the pain of repeating the mistakes of the past, and may also profit by remembering and thus avoiding the mistakes of others. As Beatty says, he's quoting Beatty, when memory is preternaturally defective, experience and knowledge will be deficient in proportion. And imprudent conduct and absurd opinion are necessary consequences. Because Bain says a character retaining a feeble hold of bitter experience or genuine delight and unable to revive afterwards the impression of the time is in reality the victim of an intellectual weakness under the guise of moral weakness. To have constantly before us an estimate of things that affects us, true to the reality, is one precious condition. For having our will always stimulated with an accurate reference to our happiness. The thoroughly educated man in this respect is he that can carry with him at all times the exact estimate of what he has enjoyed or suffered from every object that has ever affected him, and in case of encounter can present to enemy as strong a front as if he were under the genuine impression. A full and accurate memory for pleasure or for pain is the intellectual basis both of prudence as regards self and sympathy as regards others. Okay. So we see that cultivation of memory is far more than the cultivation and development of a single mental faculty. It is the cultivation and development of our entire mental being, the development of our self. So I have told you about the first chapter, that is importance of memory, and I'll be sharing the remaining part of this chapter in the next week. Okay. Thank you very much for joining this. And if you want more such content, I'll be making those content, but then for that you have to subscribe my channel and press the like button. Thank you very much.